Well, good morning. Today I'll speak to you about Saint Paul of the Cross, because this year we are celebrating the third centenary of the foundation of the Passionists, the Passionist congregation. Saint Paul of the Cross, the founder of the Passionists, was born in a little town called, or at least it was little at that time, in Ovada, in the north of Italy, in 1694. The memory of the Passion of Jesus influenced the life of Paul from early childhood. He was also filled with a deep desire to promote the memory of the Passion in the hearts of others. And our Blessed Lady appeared to him dressed in the black habit of the Passion, the habit that we wear today. She directed him to found a new congregation in the church, which would be dedicated to promoting the memory of the Passion in the hearts of the faithful. Paul was clothed in the black habit of the Passion by his bishop on November the 22nd, 1720. He then made a retreat of 40 days, spent alone in the sacristy of the church, in fasting and prayer. During this retreat, he wrote the rule of the congregation. Though still a layman, he was employed by bishops of various dioceses in the ministry of preaching. His preaching bore great fruit. The intervals between these labors, between these missions, I suppose you would call them, he spent praying and doing penance on Monte Argentario, a mountain in the sea. In 1725, he went to Rome and received the approval to found the congregation of the Passion from Pope Benedict XIII. And 2 years later, this same Pope ordained Paul to the priesthood in St. Peter's. Paul devoted the remaining years of his life to making the Passion of Jesus a dominant influence in the lives of the people. Paul calls the Passion of Jesus the greatest and most overwhelming work of God's love. He prayed frequently for the conversion of England. Once in a vision, he saw Passionists working in England, and it was a vision that gave him great joy. Paul died in the retreat of Saints John and Paul in Rome on the 18th of October, 1775. He had the consolation of seeing his congregation firmly established and flourishing in many parts of Italy before he died. Since then, of course, it has spread abroad over the whole Catholic world. St. Paul of the Cross was canonized by Pope Pius IX on the 29th of June, 1867. St. Paul of the Cross was preeminently a man of prayer and recollection. He lived his baptism. Baptism had united Paul with Jesus Christ in the mysteries of his passion, death, and resurrection. Holy Mass and Holy Communion renewed and intensified that intimate union with the crucified and risen Lord. The Holy Eucharist was central in Paul's life. He had actually permission from his confessor to receive Holy Communion daily, something that was by no means common practice at the time. We take it for granted today. It wasn't common practice at that time. Paul kept a diary of his 40-day retreat. It's significant that he very often, almost daily, makes a reference to how it was for him at the moment when he received Holy Communion. That's very interesting. Holy Mass and the reception of Holy Communion were obviously the high points of his day. And Paul reminds us that the Holy Mass and Holy Communion should have the central place in our lives too. It is through the Mass and Holy Communion that we are most intimately united with Jesus in the saving events of his life, death, and glorious resurrection. Well, much more could be said about St. Paul of the Cross, of course. Father Ben, who was parish priest here before Father Mark, has written a CTS pamphlet on the life of St. Paul of the Cross. And we have those in our, maybe not in the church at the moment, but we do have them. So if you're ever interested in deepening your knowledge of St. Paul of the Cross, please ask us for a copy of that pamphlet. Thank you for listening. Have a good weekend. God bless.
Notices this week, everyone. First of all, to thank those who've sent in their response to our request for feedback from the synod meetings, and to say that still we'll be grateful for any more that might come in, and we'll get to work on those that have come in. So thank you very much, and we'll try and work out what is the best way forward. And the other thing to say is that on this coming Saturday, we have a Mass at 11 in the morning to remember all of those who died in the course of the year. Their funerals may have taken place here or through members of the community here, or they may be funerals from your own family situations. Please feel welcome to come, and we'll read out the names of all those who've died, and there'll be an opportunity to pray and to light a candle in their memory. So that's next Saturday, the 27th at 11 o'clock. That happens to be the eve of the first Sunday of Advent. So we know where we're heading for. And yes, otherwise, let's keep on keeping on. And thanks for all your support, both spiritual and material. And we look forward to being in touch again this weekend and next weekend. Thank you. God bless.